All right. Ready to tackle some stress. Let's do it. We're diving into Superando Limites by Marynês Pereira. It's full of these practical techniques, and what I find so interesting is how it's not just about thinking positive, it's about training your mind and body to handle stress better.
Yeah, it's a really holistic approach, almost like how athletes train,
Yeah,
right? It's not just about mental toughness, it's getting your whole system in sync.
totally. And Pereira breaks it down into these 4 pillars: blocks, mental rehearsal, internal conversation, and then anxiety control. It's like, okay, here are the tools. Let's build some resilience.
Exactly. It's a framework, a really practical one.
So let's break it down, starting with blocks.
Yeah.
Pereira uses this analogy of stress being like an obstacle course.
Right.
Don't look at the whole thing at once. That's overwhelming. Instead, you break it down.
Into manageable chunks.
Exactly. You said it. Chunks.
Smaller goals, smaller blocks of time. It prevents that feeling of being completely swamped, which is often what, sends our brain into panic mode.
Oh, totally. Like that feeling where you just freeze up because it's too much.
Exactly. And when we get like that, our amygdala, that's the part of our brain that handles fear and the stress response, it goes into overdrive. So by using blocks, we kind of trick our brain into staying calmer, more focused.
That makes so much sense. It's like, don't bite off more than you can chew, right?
Pereira even suggests using a timer for each block. So work for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break. Helps with focus. Have you ever tried that?
Oh, all the time. It's amazing. You get so much more done that way.
It's like a game changer, really.
And speaking of preparation, that kind of leads us into the next pillar, which is mental rehearsal.
Oh, yeah. I love this one. It's so powerful.
It's basically mentally preparing for stressful situations, right? Like, imagine you have a big presentation coming up.
You mentally rehearse it, visualize the room, the audience, you go over your points.
Exactly. And the more you do that, the less intimidating the actual event feels, right?
Yeah, it's like anything else. The more familiar we are with something, the less scary it seems. Our brains love patterns, so when we mentally rehearse, we're basically teaching our brain that this isn't something to freak out about.
Pereira even mentions using VR technology for this. I mean, imagine that, practicing for a big meeting in a virtual replica of the actual room.
It's wild.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show, even without the VR, right?
Yeah.
Just the act of visualizing running through scenarios in your head, it makes a huge difference.
For sure. Okay, so we've talked about managing our tasks and mentally preparing, but what about that negative self-talk? That's where internal conversation comes in, right?
Huge one. And we've all heard about positive self-talk, but Pereira takes it a step further. It's not just about thinking happy thoughts. It's about consciously shifting your inner dialogue.
So instead of dwelling on everything that could go wrong,
You focus on solutions.
okay, so instead of, oh my gosh, what if I totally bomb this presentation? It's more like,
All right, how can I make this presentation engaging? What are the key points I want to get across?
right, it's about taking control of the narrative in your head.
Exactly.
Love that. Okay, last but not least, we have anxiety control, and this one seems like it's all about the physical, right? Like, how do we calm our bodies down?
That's it. And it's so key because our minds and bodies, they're connected, right? You can't have one without the other. So when we get stressed, we tend to breathe really shallow.
We do. It's like short little breaths.
Right. And that actually just perpetuates the stress cycle. But if you focus on deep, slow breathing, it sends a signal to your brain that it's okay to chill out.
It's amazing how something so simple can make such a big difference. It reminds me of meditation, just focusing on the breath.
Exactly. It's a really ancient technique, and it works. Pereira actually compares it to the training that Navy SEALs go through.
Navy SEALs? Wow. Okay, if it's good enough for them.
Right. It shows you how powerful this stuff is.
So it's not just some fluffy self-help stuff. It's battle-tested, real-deal stress management.
Exactly. And that's what I think is so great about Pereira's work. It's accessible, it's practical, and it really can make a difference in how you deal with stress.
It's all about building that resilience, right? So as you go deeper into Pereira's book, what techniques are you going to try? What speaks to you the most?
Think about it, give them a try, and let us know.
We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, stay curious and let's keep exploring ways to overcome those limits.
That's right.